So we obviously all know how good a player Caitlin Clark is. We all know that, look, the likelihood is she's going to end up as one of the greatest of all time. But there are certain players that you kind of need to have to be, for Caitlin Clark to be really successful. What if I told you that one of them, well, you all know that one of them, they got rid of one of them. They sent one of them to the damn team they're playing today in the Mercury. What if I told you another one of them is sitting on the bench for this team? But before we get on to, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 20.5k by the end of the day. If we could do that, that would be absolutely incredible, lads. But anyway, who am I talking about? So there is a player by the name of Grace Berger, who is no superstar by any means. But if you just know the sport of basketball, you know that it isn't, as much as Caitlin Clark's brilliant with the ball in her hands, she can be equally as deadly without the ball. Obviously, you need a proper coach. First things first, like, you actually need a proper coach. And Christy Sides is not it. So maybe she's not going to look great. But you need, if you're going to play Caitlin Clark off the ball, the point guard that you need has got to be capable of just passing the ball to Caitlin Clark, hitting an open shot. And if Caitlin Clark, whilst playing the two, gets the ball and pushes the floor, has to be some sort of a threat to shoot. That's the reason I'm pushing to get like a Julie Vanloo or something in the team. It's the reason why, like I've always said, like, you need a Mario Chalmers type point guard. Like, for your LeBron, you need a Mario Chalmers. If I'm needed to take up the ball and set up the offense, cool. If I'm needed to just go stand in the corner and let you do you, cool. I'm not gonna, and this is only at times, by the way. Obviously, you want Caitlin Clark playing point guard a lot of the game. But what you don't want Caitlin Clark to do is the complete heliocentric offense for 4 quarters with no backup plan. You need a plan B. But the problem is right now is when Caitlin Clark plays off the ball. Erica Wheeler is a dribble, pick and roll point guard. I'm going to run in a bunch of circles. And when she's not doing that, she passes the ball first side to Kelsey Mitchell every single time. And Kelsey Mitchell is a gunner. When she gets the ball, she's just thinking, how do I score? Not how does my team score, it's how do I score? In fairness, she is an efficient scorer, but that is the attitude of Kelsey Mitchell. And what normally happens is that Erica Wheeler is so used to just making decisions out of the pick and roll that doesn't even wait half the time before Caitlin Clark comes off anything. She'll just give the ball straight to Kelsey Mitchell. Because Kelsey Mitchell's open earlier, because teams are not denying her like they're denying Caitlin Clark. Like, that's the problem with Erica Wheeler. She just doesn't fit, even at the one. And it's cool to take the ball out of Caitlin's hands in certain scenarios where, if you've watched Grace Berger when she's played, like, Grace Berger was playing a few games at the start of the year, like only averaging 3.6 points per game, which isn't great. So you're seeing she played 23 minutes, and this was a game. Like, this was a somewhat relatively tight game. But you're seeing here, like, she played 7 minutes against Sky in the game they won, and she didn't do anything really. But she'll pass the ball to Caitlin. Like, she will just, when she's the one passing the ball left and right, she will at least give the ball to Caitlin Clark. And that is the big thing. She will at least pass the ball to Caitlin. Every minute she's played since in the last 6 weeks has been garbage time minutes. But if you also look at her shooting percentages, last season, she shot 47% from 3. This year, there was a game where she just struggled a bit from the free throw line, but was an 84% free throw shooter. Hey, look, she played 15 minutes a game last year as a rookie. Averaged 4.2 points. It's not great. They're not great numbers. 2 assists. Not too bad at all. 1 turnover. 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. It's not terrible. She's a 6-foot-tall point guard who can also play off the ball. And it's just, she has a bit of versatility. Like, she was the 7th pick in the draft last year. I know it was a bad draft. Like, Lou went 5th in that draft. Like, it wasn't a particularly good draft. But she's a player, an archetype of a Grace Berger. Obviously, in that role, you want someone better than Grace Berger. And she's not going to be a starter. Caitlin Clark's starting at the 1, obviously. But if there are times where you're like, okay, we want Caitlin off the ball at times, because if you watched them in Iowa, there were times where Gabby Marshall set up the offense. There were times when Kate Martin set up the offense. Obviously, Caitlin is the point guard, but there are times other players set up the offense because Caitlin can also be effective off the ball. The problem is that when you're Christy Sides, you're either the point guard or the shooting guard. There's no flexibility in her ability to coach the game. And by the way, this is not like saying that Grace Berger right now would be the perfect player because Christy Sides is an incompetent coach. Like, that's the first thing, is that with Christy Sides and with Lynn Dunn as well, like, they're so set in their positions. This is everything is just old-fashioned basketball. So if you're the point guard, you're the point guard. If you're the shooting guard, you're not allowed to take the ball up. If you're the shooting guard, give the ball to the point guard. Let the point guard take the ball up. No positionless, no modern basketball. And Grace Berger is a great 1-2 kind of combo guard to play beside a combo guard because she can do both. And she can allow Caitlin Clark to do both. Because Caitlin Clark can be a decent player if once in every 3 or 4 possessions she plays off the ball and the ball can still get to her. Not Erica Wheeler giving the ball to Kelsey Mitchell all the time. And the scariest part about it is that like Erica Wheeler is also, I think, the highest person assisting to Caitlin Clark. It just shows how little Caitlin Clark gets, or it doesn't really matter because, well, Caitlin Clark, no one else passed the ball to Caitlin Clark either. But having that type of a player off the bench, so like if you want to play Caitlin Clark 35 minutes so that she's not getting picked up 94 feet for all 35 minutes, maybe you give, instead of those minutes to Wheeler, because you can't play Wheeler and Caitlin Clark at the same time, but you can play Grace Berger and Caitlin Clark at the same time. Because just the stylistically you can. If you have a competent coach that is going to allow some sort of a freedom, allow Caitlin Clark to be the point guard, Grace Berger's the 2, but every couple of possessions, if Caitlin Clark wants to come off a pin down, she wants to do something off the ball. Okay, Grace, you're our point guard. Cool. I'm going to actually look for you, Caitlin. I'm not going to throw the pass to the first player that's open, which is Kelsey Mitchell every time. The other team is going to leave Kelsey Mitchell open because they want the ball in Kelsey Mitchell's hands. That's the issue, is that the only time I've ever seen a team try to get the ball out of Kelsey Mitchell's hands were the Chicago Sky the third time they played. It's the only time this season I've seen that happening. So it is just, it's an issue of coaching more so than anything. Like the coaching, nothing improves until the coaching improves. And like they might win. Look, they might win tonight. They might win 50% of their games. They might win in spite, like they might win like despite have, in spite of, or like not in spite. They might win like, oh geez, I'm struggling for words right now. But like they're not going to win because of her. They're not going to win because of Christy Sides. Christy Sides, with a good coach, this is a 500 team right now. They're 9-13 right now. I think with a competent coach, they are, with a competent coach, they're 11-11. I'll say with a competent coach, they're 500. Like they're 500 if 2 games change. If they don't dig themselves into the hole against the Mystics and they don't screw up that win against the Chicago Sky. If those 2 games are changed, they're 500. So with a competent coach, they're 500. With a good coach, they're probably like what, 13 or 12-10 maybe? With a good coach, they're probably the same as the Mercury. Probably about 12-10 with a good coach. And then they're 9-13 instead. Like that is the difference in the coaching. Like they're not going to lose every single game because of their coach, but like that's the difference where coaching is concerned. And I really do hope that, like, I think they might, like, Grace Berger's not going to get picked up in the expansion draft anyway. She's still under contract for a couple of years. She's still on a rookie deal. She's still on a little bit of money. My biggest fear is that they're going to cut her. That's my biggest fear, is they're going to cut her. They're going to cut her to bring in another player that doesn't fit. They're going to cut her to bring in another ball-dominant pick-and-roll point guard who doesn't fit with Caitlin Clark. They're going to bring in, like, you're going to have a system, and then Lynn Dunn, who probably doesn't understand the system, is going to just bring in players that suited the old style of the WNBA. Like Lynn Dunn, go into the Hall of Fame. Lynn Dunn maybe should be in the Basketball Hall of Fame. But like with Christy Sides, the fact that you've got players in your team, especially with Celeste Taylor as well, you've got players that you can play. If you want to play modern basketball, if you want to play basketball in 2024, not what we thought about basketball in 2004. Like, Christy Sides is trying to play basketball from 20 years ago right now. And she's just trying to figure it out. There are players, and your young players that are coming through are playing modern style of basketball. Your Grace Berger is playing that style of basketball. Celeste Taylor's playing that style. Obviously, a team like, or players that come from UConn will be used to the old style of basketball because of Gino. But it's just there's players that stylistically fit so much better, especially because she's now trying to go run. There's players that they've had that fit stylistically so much better than the Erica Wheelers of the world. Even than Katie Lou Samuelsons of the world. Katie Lou's really trying. But like, I just don't even know what position she plays anymore. But like, yeah, it is. It's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens. But it is very annoying that there is a perfect fit for what you need as the backup point guard for Caitlin Clark. Because you're not going to play, let's just say you're not going to play Erica Wheeler 8 minutes and Caitlin Clark 32. That's not going to happen. If that was to happen, I'm cool with Erica Wheeler playing. The problem is that any minutes they overlap, one of the two of them looks terrible. And that's where the issue is, that the team is so much worse with Erica Wheeler and Caitlin Clark on at the same time. They're terrible with the two of them on at the same time. And I think the team looks significantly better with Berger and Clark, or at the start of the year they did, than with Wheeler and Clark. And the problem is now is that even though Erica Wheeler might be a better player than Grace Berger, you have to also think in stylistically. This isn't 2K. You can't just put a bunch of players with the highest overalls on the court and play with them the way, or expect them all to fit into a system the same way. Players play different styles. Styles make fights. And there's no reason for Grace Berger to be frozen out of the team right now.